Today we are butchering a cow. This is what you would call a burger cow or a cull cow. The cow has an injured leg, and so it can't be, the leg can't be fixed. When a full-grown cow has an injured leg, that's it. But it also can't just be slaughtered. Number one, because it's like 7 years old. But even that, an abattoir, their law is that they can't take an injured animal or anything. The animal has to walk across the kill floor itself, so to speak. So it was offered to us. Now this is a funny thing that we have got a reputation for, so to speak. But there's probably 3 or 4 farms who will call us if they have an injured cow that needs to be butchered. If their freezers are full and they don't need it, they'll offer it to us. This is, I think, the 3rd one we've done, maybe the 4th one. So to start off, we just ground the whole thing. I mean, like, debone it, etc. Can't grind the bones. But now we actually save back some cuts for braising, for like pot roast, like slow, long cooked roasts, and like pulled beef and that sort of thing. And then grind a bunch, and then depending on how much ground we get, we also make sausages. Don't have plans to make sausages with any of this. We may bring some of it to a butcher to get it made into land Jaeger though. Depending on the farm, so like when it's been a close friend of Marius's, he will shoot it there, and they will also like hang it from a skid steer or a loader or something for him, so that he can skin it and gut it there, and then they throw all that in their dead pile, and he just takes the quarters home. This isn't a close friend of his, and so he just asked if he could shoot it there, and would they load it in the truck after that, and they said yes, absolutely. So that's what's happening today. So it will come to our house, it will be shot, he will bleed it, like slit the jugular, and then it will get brought here. So now it is milking time, and Annabelle is sleepy this morning, so is the calf. So sorry, gotta wake you up. With this sort of cow, if we didn't take it, or if they offered it to others and they didn't take it, it would most likely just have to be put down. The kids asked me the other day, like, why, when an animal has a broken leg, like a big animal, it has to be put down versus a human can be healed. I'm like, well, the thing about a human is you could say, now you have to lay in bed for 6 weeks so this can heal. You can't make a horse or a cow lay in bed for 6 weeks. It's just not how it works. So then with this cow, you know, it would just have to be put down and then be coyote bait. So in this way, it means we can still use it. It's a huge gift to us. They want nothing in return except for some fresh bread. We could do that. We honestly don't need very much meat. Marius has plans to bring a bunch of it with him to work to some of his First Nations co-workers who don't have access to anything like this at the reservation that he's working at. He asked one of them on Friday if they wanted a bunch and how they wanted it packaged up and such, and so that's pretty fun. And it's gonna go to some of my in-laws, and it's gonna get spread between probably 5 families because we don't need it all for ourselves. We're just kind of the ones facilitating it, so to speak. Okay, I just got home from the kids, picking up the kids at my sister's house, and the cow's in the back of the truck right now, but I don't think you want to see it because we'll wait till it's hanging. Right now it kind of is just in a pile and doesn't look so good. So I'm inside and it's stinking cold outside right now, so I'm not going out right now. I'm going to show you this through the window. The cow was shot and bled via the jugular, and put in the back of the truck. Marius's brother's here in the gray hat. See the two of them walking down there. Marius is in the high vis. Anyways, so with the tractor, he is chaining the cow up and he's going to hang it up using the tractor bucket and then skin it and gut it. We have not always had a tractor, and we have done this process multiple times without a tractor. That is when it's really nice to be able to sweet talk the farmer into like, hey, could we hang it and skin it and gut it at your house? And like, we'll bribe you with something for it, you know, fresh baking or part of the cut up meat or whatever. And then just bring it home in quarters, because that's a lot easier to deal with. Having to do it this way is a lot trickier if you don't have a tractor, but we are very fortunate that we have a tractor. So what the farmer wanted, he didn't want to be paid, he wanted bread. So I'm mixing up 6 loaves of bread. I'm using Josie Baker bread book, and I'm using the 100% whole wheat because this farmer, in his words, he likes a loaf of bread that you could break a window with. He likes a nice dense sourdough. He doesn't want anything added in, he just likes whole wheat bread, sourdough. I have traded him other things before. What did I trade him? I traded a bunch of empty plastic crates for us to store potatoes in for sourdough bread and potatoes last fall. So this is the pre-ferment, and it's gonna sit until this evening, and then I'll mix up the bread dough. We always make sure all our knives are nice and sharp and ready for a day of butchering. This part was hard to video, but they're separating the colon and the rectum, and you want to do it without cutting any of that. So they were all hands on deck helping to make this work. Marius's dad and brother were inside the cavity separating the colon and bowels there. And they've already separated up at the top and have it tied off with twine. And around the back, Marius is here separating it from the tail to keep the hide intact. Not because we were keeping this hide, but because it's good practice for when he does want to keep this hide. This hide was way too rough for us to keep. There is a lot of different techniques and ways to do this. This way that Marius does it, he detaches it and then it all goes out through the cavity out the front. Once he has it all detached there, and you can kind of see he's deboning part of the tail in the process, and he's showing his dad a different method that he had learned years ago that his dad had never seen before, that only works if you are hanging up an animal. Some people will cut the brisket beforehand when they are initially cutting open the gut cavity, but Marius does not like to do this because then you expose sharp edges of bone that are more likely to pop your stomach contents, and you really don't want to pop your stomach contents. If you pop your stomach contents, you want to just do your best to get it out of there as quick as you can, and then you're going to wash the whole thing out with vinegar water. His dad bagged up the end of the colon there, but that's not something we normally do. Now we're just working on skinning it down. None of them use specific skinning knives. They use mostly just kind of their standard on their hip knife. It's nice and sharp. And then the trick to maintaining your knife edge is you don't cut against the hide and you don't cut against the carcass. The hide will dull your knife really quickly. You're just getting that membrane and kind of using the weight of the hide to help skin it, because the hide will naturally pull it down. So now he is detaching the rest of the guts so that he can get them all out of there. And again, it's about getting those connective membranes and tissues and just picking the easy route here and not having to saw through things. I hopped up on the tailgate so you could see this from a higher angle here. He's now digging down, getting the last bits detached before he pulls the rest out, all in one go. There still then is the diaphragm, and below the diaphragm is the heart and the lungs, but those are less stressful to get out because they don't matter if you cut them. They're not going to taint your meat. So his brother is going to just move the carcass away from some of the blood and the guts now, so they can continue the rest in a little cleaner spot. The skinning basically stays the same until they get to the front legs here. Then they skin down and they slit down the front of the legs in order to peel the skin off of the legs. Soon they will cut the hooves off kind of at the first joint. The first joint past the hoof. So kind of like the elbow. I missed that part. But it's all about just getting that skin off of the animal here. He would always rather work on the inside versus the outside of the hide because hair dulls your knife like nobody's business. So he puts his knife down in, and again, he's just using his pocket knife to do this. My husband is not a fancy tool, separate tool for everything person. He likes multi-purpose tools, and this one is on his belt every day. His dad is using a specific skinning knife, I think, and it's got a gut hook, and he actually cut himself with it. Not bad, but that's Marius and I's experience with gut hooks, is that you basically just always cut yourself with a gut hook, so we don't use knives with gut hooks. A lot of people saw off the neck, but Marius doesn't find that necessary. He's going to use his small little pocket knife here to get the head off. He's just going to cut all the meat off, and then he gets into the joint. And just like if you were separating a joint on a chicken, you're just finding that joint, cutting the connective tissue. You got to give it a bit of a twist on a cow because it's a little bigger than a chicken leg, but you don't need to saw this off. Sawing it is more work. Marius has always been a fan of using his reciprocating saw, or the sawzall, or whatever you want to call it, to cut apart an animal like this. It's just so much easier than a handsaw. This blade, he says, is a demolition blade. There's different, like wood blade, metal blade, and this is a demolition blade. So he realized he hadn't taken out the heart and the tenderloins yet, so have to do that first. He's yanking the windpipe out there and just making sure that everything is cleaned out well down below. Some people would rinse out this bottom part, but we're not going to. Now he's grabbing out the heart and the lungs, and I see a heart and barley soup coming up. He accidentally got it with the reciprocating saw.
Can you slice open that lung for me?
Can you blow it up first?
Pretty neat.
Yeah, pretty neat. Pretty cool.
Inside here, there's something neat. You'll see two little kind of knobs on either side of the ribs. We think that this cow had broken ribs at some point. This farmer had only owned the cow for a couple years. His guess is that maybe when it was younger, it got stuck in a round bale feeder or something like that. That's the only thing we can think of.
So he's now cutting it with the reciprocating sawzall again, cutting it down lengthways.
To get this beast inside, he's taking the path of least resistance, which is to first take off the front legs and bring them in and deal with them first. And if you've ever cut apart a whole chicken, it's a similar way in which you're taking off the thigh at the joint. You're just cutting the path of least resistance between the leg and the body, and then pulling the leg out to expose and show you where the joint is. And then it's really quite simple to just cut it off. He's cutting off this huge front leg with just a pocket knife.
No, look where there's a plug. And you can even move the table closer to the wall.
Right.
What is this stuff you're cutting off?
This?
Connective tissue.
Yeah.
Flubber. How small do they need to be for the grinder? This is fine.
Yeah, I can trim if need to.
Okie dokie, grinder hole.
Oh, I better move
Your
my...
cut before we
Yeah,
cut
I'll
it.
move my coffee cup again.
Rod and other things.
So this is just connective tissue then? So if this cow was hung and cold, what would this, like,
It would be hard.
that stuff would be hard?
Yeah.
So is it easier to do now or easier to do when it's hung?
After it sets.
Yep. We don't have the luxury at that time, so.
Yeah, it's too cold if we wanted to
If
hang it
it's- if the
even.
meat sets, and this is a lot easier to work with. How big a pieces you said for the grinder?
Doesn't matter because I'll trim to what I need.
They're on there.
This big bowl's
You want
fine.
some of this on there or off?
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Grinder up. We can cut it now since we're cutting it, so let us know how
Yeah.
big you want it.
How big is the hole?
Interesting.
Swirl just has an old panel she brought up when she crawled upstairs.
And they're
one
smart
day.
too. Like at the end of the summer, they're fun to hunt because they're smart.
Yeah,
They learn.
this is how smart they are.
So the plan with the rib cage is just to strip in between all the ribs?
Yeah.
Just strip off all the meat? It will just all be grinding meat? If it was a younger cow, would anything here be saved? This is a back strap here, isn't it? But it's getting awfully close to the neck, so then it'll be tougher part.
Here's where your prime rib is, right?
Oh, okay. So will
This
you
piece
save
right
that out?
here. No, we've already hacked it off into the front legs, right?
That's rib steaks?
Yeah, up into where your prime rib starts, which is right here. That's your prime rib, so you'd get 2 prime ribs out of that, like nice big
Oh,
ones.
okay. Are you gonna save it?
I'll cut it out and see what it looks like. Seems to be fairly. Might as well try one, right?
If you want, yeah. Glenn wants them in smaller size packages than what you gave him.
Than what we gave him.
Yeah, it's just him and his wife.
Oh,
So a 20-pound moose roast is a little large for him.
it says family size.
Am I in your way?
Yeah.
Neck vertebrae are always so tough. Eh?
No, yeah. Pain.
Move that bowl then.
Yeah.
The fat on that is just the most magnificent yellow.
Really.
Nice.
Well, you do need shoes on because blood.
There's blood on the floor?
You have to wear shoes. My brothers aren't going to get
So what's the plan with the back quarter versus the front quarter? Similar deboning?
Mommy, come on.
You made it.
I'm trying to get you to tell me for the video right now,
I
Mary.
have no idea. I'm flying by the seat of my pants right
Yeah, deboning back,
Just mostly deboning.
trimming off.
You have to actually be helper. Mom.
This part feels tough, but we'll find out. Take it out of here.
There might be a bit on the floor when we're done.
Oh, don't spill any, guys. She went through the trouble of grinding it.